welcome. Woo.
Happy Friday. It is great to see everyone here.
Happy New Year. Man, it's a packed house. I love it. Yeah.
I'm Stepanie Chang, State Senator for Senate District 3.
Yes. She's phenomenal. Donavan Mckinney, State Rep, right here in District 14. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you.
So we wanted to provide an opportunity, to just gather folks together, hear what's on your mind, and for us to share some updates. Also, hopefully everyone is getting a flyer for our upcoming town hall on water affordability on February 12th. We would love to have you there. And our team is here. Just want to give everyone a shout out. Raise your hand. Team Chang, Team McKinney. Make sure to meet them. Also, I know we've got at least one local elected official in the room. Cal Noonan.
Newly elected city councilman out of Warren.
So thanks for joining us. So first, I think we'll just share some updates. There's a lot to talk about. You want to start?
Yeah, for sure. So the governor gave her State of State address. I'm not sure if anybody watched it, but a lot of great proposals that she highlighted in the speech. I'm going to just be honest, one thing that's near and dear to my heart that she talked about was universal pre-K. For those folks who don't know, my wife and I, we have a 2-year-old baby boy. He just turned 2 this past Sunday, and we're expecting another boy any day now. The due date's February 4th. And I say this all the time, anybody who knows me, child care is very expensive. We pay more in child care every month than we do in our mortgage. And so that's just one child. We got another one on the way. And so, on the state house salary, we make double the median income in my district. So the median income in the district is about $36,000. And so we're struggling to make ends meet on the state house salary. Just imagine what folks are doing in and out of our districts, trying to make ends meet day to day. And so one of the things we're going to try to figure out is how to fund this, me being on the appropriations committee. And so there's a lot of good ideas, but just that one in particular, we're going to be pushing. Another one that she mentioned was the tax credit for caregivers, right? So, I'll take care of my grandmother. My mother-in-law has MS, and we look after her. And my mom has, brain tumors, fortunately benign, not cancerous. But we all do our part in our families, and I'm sure you guys have similar stories or know people in your communities or neighbors that are dealing with the same thing. And so, it takes pretty much a lot of sweat equity and a lot of money and time to take care of a loved one. I don't care how old. They can be one of our elders all the way down to kids. It takes money, and it takes energy, and it takes time. And so we have to make sure that you guys are able to at least help fund that from the state. And so we're going to be pushing that too on the approach process. CREC, which is the Consensus Revenue Estimated Conference, says that the state of Michigan is in the black and we're not in the red. But I gotta be frank with you all, we don't have a lot of the money we had last year budget is not the same this year. A lot of the money we spent was one-time dollars from the federal government out of ARPA funding. Now, that money is pretty much spent, and we have to figure out revenue generators and figure out how to sustain programming that we have funded in this year's budget into next year's. So we have a lot of good things. I will say this, and I'm going to pass it over. A couple of wins for the district. Really, water infrastructure was a huge win. We invested over $600 million in the state budget. So you're going to see more water infrastructure projects going on across the state, but in particular right here in Macomb and Wayne counties. A bunch of interceptor projects, because we want to make sure that kids and families have access to clean, running, and quality drinking water. That's near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure it's near and dear to you guys. We want to make sure you guys are protected. Another thing we were investing in is roads. A lot of local road funding. So you're going to start seeing more cones. I know people got headaches right now because you see a lot of construction. We're in the day-to-day. But the governor even said in her speech that 696 corridor from Southfield into the city of Warren, that's something we're going to be focusing on. And then, where's Michael Howard in the room? Mike, you're going to appreciate this. I'm working on getting Mile Road done from 696 to 8 Mile. That's something that's really top of mind for me, and I'm sure the senator too. And then also some things we funded. 1.5 million in Parks and Recs for the city of Warren, which is amazing. We got that in the budget. We got another just over $1 million for Centerline Parks and Rec. We got another, I think, $6 million or some change for the infrastructure issues that's going on in Centerline. It's a smaller city that doesn't get a lot of the love and support, and oftentimes they're forgotten. So we made sure Centerline was intact. And then we got some more stuff for Detroit in terms of Parks and Rec and Recreation. And just excited to be able to serve you guys on appropriations. So if you got any appropriations requests, please let me and my team know. We're going to try to figure it out. But I have to be frank, like I said before, money is going to be tight this year because the governor wants to do so much, which I agree with. We just got to figure out how we fund it. And that's going to be a big challenge. So.
Yeah,
I'll pass.
Yeah.
Real big challenge.
Yeah. A couple other things that the governor mentioned on Wednesday that I'm excited about, definitely excited about all of the other things that were mentioned already, is new rebates on vehicle purchases and really incentivizing buying electric vehicles as well as incentivizing buying union-made vehicles. So we'll see how we can get that done. But significant rebates, every dollar counts these days. So saving $1,000 on a car or $2,000 on a car can make a big difference for a lot of people. And then the one thing that I'm really excited about as well is the concept of making the first 2 years of community college free.
Yes.
Because we know that education is so critical for folks to be able to succeed, to be able to thrive for their families. And so by giving people that opportunity, it could be a huge game changer. So really, really excited about that. And then you mentioned caregiving. So, in this grand conversation about how do we make life more affordable for Michiganders, obviously the governor highlighted a few things with, cars, caregiving, community college. But one of the things that I think that we're also really hopeful that we can do things that I'm really hopeful that we can get done by the end of this year is making sure that prescription drugs, that we address the growing, uncontrollable right now cost of medicine. And so there is a number of bills that have passed out of the Senate that are now awaiting action in the House related to prescription drug affordability and creating a board at the state level. Other states have already done this. The idea is to be able to have a body where they can actually receive information from the public about how much they're paying for drugs that they need in order to live, in order to be able to actually put in some caps, looking at the market and looking at all of the different factors. So really hopeful that we get that done and across the finish line. And then, of course, we're working really, really hard, Rev. McKinney and I, along with a number of our colleagues and lots of stakeholders on making sure that everyone has a water bill that they can afford. This has been a growing issue. It is not going away. It is only going to get worse if we don't do something about it. But we know that the cost of water has increased. It's almost doubled on average for Michiganders across this whole state over the past 40 years. And with all of the infrastructure needs of some of our really old water systems, water rates are only going to increase, which puts a huge burden on so many of our families. And so by instituting a water affordability program, we will be able to ensure that everyone ends up with a water bill that they can afford. And so we're really excited about the momentum that we're building on that front. We're also doing our best to combat misinformation that is out there about the legislation. And obviously we've talked about that for a long time, but we've got a whole town hall set up for that. So please come on February 12th to learn more. We've got a lot of great speakers lined up, including even Vitanza, who is a co-author on a really important report that came out a couple of years ago that literally looked at this entire state to look at how our water rates, how are we doing with water rates across the state? And the answer is, well, they've gone up a lot. And the number of people that face bills that they can't afford is just growing. So we've got to do something about it. And we're working really hard to make it happen.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
and then one other thing I'll just mention that I'm working on is, I know this seems like a long way away, but inevitably with every election cycle, oftentimes there are recounts, and we have to do some updating to our recount law, and because our recount law is kind of out of date. And so this seems like an issue that, like, how does this affect you? It's actually, I think, really, really important because we need to strengthen everyone's confidence in our already safe and secure election system, but by making sure that we have a recount process that is actually very modernized, then I think that we'll do even better. This idea, I've actually been working on this since 2017. The Detroit City Clerk race in that year, our now Lieutenant Governor, Garland Gilchrist, ran for City Clerk and lost by, I think, like 1,000 votes or less. And so when he asked for a recount, unfortunately, most of the precincts, you actually couldn't recount them because the number of ballots in the box was off by 1 or 2 or 3 from the numbers that was on the poll book. And so we weren't able to do what is the whole point of a recount, which is to get to the more accurate result and ensure that we literally hand count every single ballot again. And so I'm hopeful that we can do that update and make sure that and I think, one of the reasons why I'm really trying to get this done this year is because we know that this November election is really critical because be one of the most important elections of our lifetime.
Yep.
And it's regardless of what happens, there are going to be recounts. And so we've got to make sure that our recount law is as solid as possible, so that when recounts are called for, that everyone feels really good about the results of that, because we've got to do everything we can to just combat all of the conspiracy theories and the misinformation about our elections, and so recounts are a big part of that.
Yeah, and to your point too, we have multiple elections this year, like a lot in Michigan, and the city of Warren right now, because Lori Stone is our new mayor, we have something called a special election coming up. The primaries are going to be January 30th, so if you live in the 13th State House District, please go out and vote. And this year now, we're instituting some new state laws in terms of voting, 9 days early voting, and then also 16-year-olds can register to vote. Pre-register, I'm sorry. Pre-register, I'm so sorry. Let me say that. Pre-register, they cannot vote. Pre-register to vote. But like, there's some things we need to educate the community on, because there is no excuse anymore. You go out and vote on the weekend if you wanted to. Like, find the time to go vote, and we need to make sure as community members and individuals that are in our communities that everybody knows this. And then also, there's a misconception, especially around, formerly incarcerated people, returning citizens, that a lot of them are being told coming out of prison that they can't vote here in the state. And that might be true in some states, but here in Michigan,
they can vote.
They can vote.
Yes.
And so we have to make sure we combat a lot of that, just misinformation in those narratives. And so I just wanted to point that out. And two other things, we're going to be hosting, Senator Chang talked about the prescription drug board. We're going to be hosting a town hall about that. We're planning it sometime in March, so we'll keep you guys updated on that, because that's really important, lower prescription drugs all around for our residents. And then there was another thing too I wanted to mention, but I cannot remember it at the moment. And I'm going to leave it there. And yeah.
Awesome. So I think at this point we really want to hear from you.
Yes.
If you want to raise your hand, we want to hear what's on your mind, questions, ideas, concerns. If you're the first to raise your hand.
I just want to know, what are your boundaries for state center?
What'd you say?
Your boundaries.
Oh, my boundaries. Okay.
Well, this is going to be a long one. It's going to be a long one.
Without doing like the whole, it's like going street by street, because then we would be here for a really long time. This is very strange. So the Warren part of my district is basically a lot of the west side, but not all of the west side. of Warren. Basically, from the like westernmost edge of Warren, if you go up to, well, okay, I'll start at the top. At 14 Mile, you go over to Ryan Road, and then it cuts down to 12 Mile, and then you go over 12 Mile to Mound, and then you go down. So actually, that wasn't so hard to explain. So the Warren part is easy to explain. The rest of it is a little bit harder. But I do also have Madison Heights, Hazel Park, and one precinct each in Troy, Boston, and Royal, and Sterling Heights. And then a lot of Detroit, sort of like down 75, but then also a lot of the east side, south, mostly south of 94, and then Hamtramck and Highland.
So you cover the 8 Mile, Ryan Mound area?
Yes.
To far, it's weird. So
Okay, so
Wait,
so that means no.
I think Paul is our,
yes, so like north of 7 to 8 mile corridor is going to be Farwell Rec Center is the border, and then south of 7 Mile where Persian is, she has Coney Gardens, Paul has Crayons Woods, the other Senator Paul Bueno. It's so weird. It's
Crazy.
There, do we have citizens cards over there? There's some map. Oh, okay. There's also a very tiny map on the back of our business cards. So we can-
because they live in neighboring
Yeah.
communities,
Oh,
but
I see.
they're
Yeah.
split. You have, I believe, Senator Chang is yours, and then you have Senator Bueno.
Thank you.
But you guys are both a part of my district,
Right.
so I'm your state rep.